Welcome to my tech video series on Excel 2016. This is the second part to the Sumif tutorial. This one is a little more advanced because while in the first video we were able to see just one calculation for item and one for the suppliers, this time we want to have it such that we can use this repeatedly so that we can see all of the items showing just one at a time, and we can check any supplier at any time and see how much money was spent with that particular supplier. To do that, we're going to need to have drop down lists, and therefore our formula is going to vary slightly from what we did before. It's actually the same formula, but the way how we apply it is going to be slightly different. So first thing we need to do is to see how we can create a drop down list. Now my drop down list is going to appear right here on the item. In the other video, you just had one word typed in there, but now you're going to have a drop down list so that you can select whichever item you need. So how do we get a drop down list? We need to go to the Data tab and select Data Validation. And here on the any value, you're going to select List. Now, what are we going to put in that list? We have about 6 items in our list, so we can type all of them right here on the source in this window. So we can go, so I'm going to make sure we type it exactly as it is in our table, and we use commas as separators. It doesn't matter whether you put in the space or not. The comma will tell the computer how to separate these items and list them. Of course, it's important that you type the names exactly as they appear in your table. That's all we need to do. We can click OK. You see the drop down button is right here to the side. If you click on that, there you go. So we can select any item. You see sugar is there, milk is there, flour is there. The question is, why are we creating this drop down list? Because we are going to reference that cell when we go to do our Sumif. So here you go. Let's see how it differs from the basic one. Equal Sumif. Open parentheses. I remember what we did before. We selected these 3 fields so that the item list is on the left and the field that contains the numeric data is on the right. So E4 to G21 is exactly the same as it was in the first video. Put it on a separator. What we did before, we used quotes to type the name of the item we want to do our calculations on. This time we do not do that. We point to the location where that item is displayed, and instead of going to the actual table, we're going to point to this cell here on the left, and whatever is displayed is going to be read into the formula. So it says I8. Then if you check, you see I column, row 8. Our separator goes there, and as usual, we want to have our sum range, so we can select from 1280 all the way down to 945. Close parentheses. So it's just that one little difference to our formula. Instead of having here where the red is, instead of having the name of the item being typed there in quotes, we just point to a particular location. Press enter, and there you go. $2,883 for flour. If you want to look for essence, you can click here on the item, drop down the list, select essence, and you say change to $913. So let's repeat it now for the supplier and see how it works. Now, why this is particularly important, because if you look at the suppliers, you see that some of the names are pretty long. And therefore, the longer the names, the higher the risk of making errors when you are typing the name of the supplier, and you don't want to take that risk. So this method that we're using now will certainly help us to deal with that issue. Now, there is a slight difference in how you do this one to how we did the one for the items. You know, so let's see where we go. We're here on the suppliers, and we go back to the data tab, and we select data validation again. And once again, we select list. What we did before, we type the items in here on the source. But look at these long names. We don't want to type all of those into this list. So we click this little button here with the red arrow. It will zip it up and asks us where to look for our lists of suppliers. Now you have a couple of options. You can go here and select these. The problem is that you're going to have duplicates and triplicates. We don't want that. So what I've done in advance, I have copied a single entry for each supplier over here on the left. So you see Farmer's Choice, Best End Suppliers, Jones Cash and Carry, Brown's Corner Shop, Jack and Jill, Wholesales, Farmer's Choice, Carter's, and Net Street. So there's one entry over here for every supplier that appears in our table. That is where I'm going to put my reference from, so that I have no duplicates in my list of suppliers. So I can select, that's A13 to A19, and you see it appears in the box up here, and I can now click the button again, and there it is. So when I click OK, that goes in and creates my drop down list. So now you have two ways of creating your drop down list: either type it straight in, or use an already typed list so that your list will appear as you want it. By doing it this way, I guarantee that there will be no errors in spelling. So I'm going to select Jack and Jill, and now I'm going to do my Sumif again. So equals Sumif, open parentheses, and recall what we did in the first video. We want our suppliers to be on the left and our costs on the right. So we select only those two fields. Add my separator. As in the first instance, reference the cell here to the left. That is now I13. Add the separator, and then select the cost field. Close parentheses, press enter, and there you have Jack and Jill Wholesale, $2,315. I can go now and select someone else, Jones Cash and Carry, and that is $1,352. So we can change the item to see what costs, what is the total cost, and we can change the supplier to see the total amount of money paid to that by the supplier. Enjoy.